Good afternoon, Sooner Nation. We've got a game here in a couple of hours, so I wanted to roll this video out for y'all. This is season 2021, episode 12, and part of the 2021 Sooners football playlist. Again, my opinions are my own and do not reflect my current workplace, as well as this being the preview video for Western Carolina. I wanted to go into details about several things going prior into this game. The problem is, it's Western Carolina. I wanted to bring up depth chart on Western Carolina, but it does not exist. There is no chart that I could find that would show like what is their strongest positions, their strongest units, who like mostly is going to be the starting lineup. I was also going to watch the game, but unfortunately, it's a pay-per-view game that is not available because I don't have cable. I cut cable years ago with it, and unfortunately, OU has it on a very, very, very specific way to watch. That does not include Sling, Roku, Fire Stick, anything like that. And honestly, guys, I really don't want to pay the $50, $60 to watch it through the website with it. I just really don't for it when I'm only going to utilize it one time. That being said, it's not like I'm going to really miss out on too much because, spoiler alert, OU's going to win big this time. I said this last week, okay? And I understand I was off last week, but this one is definitely it with it. Because what it comes down to, guys, is you're going to learn less about this team with this game than you did last week with it. The reality is this is OU's annual body bag game / paycheck game / tribute to Owen Field. And unfortunately for Western Carolina, they're the opponent for that. We're just lucky that last week was really our first home game of the season versus this week, where I guess it's just a personal thing with me, is I really just been upset with the pay-per-view stuff with it, especially with it being the first home game. It's a pay-per-view. Thank goodness for last week for that, though, where we got to see OU for the first time on television with it at home at that point. That's neither here nor there at that point. For Western Carolina, I mean, without getting a big head, not speaking about ego, for them, it's really just the honor about coming to Norman, playing against us, playing against a big football program, not just walking away with the paycheck that OU's going to use so they can use this game to fine tune. They're just going to be walking away with it, just kind of like it's an honor to play this team with it. No different than it would be, say, Alabama. No different than Ohio State, no different than Notre Dame. It's just one of those type of games for it. So it works out for both sides of it with it. To be honest, if I'm being completely honest, I expect more out of the 9/11 memorial ceremonies that are probably going to take place on Owen Field, such as the big American flag. There's possibly going to be a flyover. There's probably going to be a lot of patriotic songs that are played. And most likely a tribute video to Western Carolina's coach, John Peacock, who passed away over the summer. I expect more from that at this point than I would the actual game. Now, going completely off script, because if you can't tell, I'm looking up and down because my notes are on my computer. I'm trying to get a different way with it where I'm not just looking like right here with it. I do want to go off script and do mention that as well as it is the 20th anniversary of 9/11. Just keep the families of 9/11 who were affected by the tragedy and your thoughts for it. That day did teach everyone about making the most out of each day and to treasure what you have every day. It could be family members, friends. It doesn't matter. It's just that day changed for a lot of people with it. So just keep that in mind as well. Now, going back on script with it, though, when I was doing my notes, I really did want to come up with something to come up with this game, something of substance. So y'all had a video to watch, but also too, it wasn't 30 seconds long. So if I really had to do some mental gymnastics and I really had to reach to try to get some bullet points for this game, this is what I would personally want to watch for as a result of this game. If last game was shaking off the rust, this game is definitely going to be the fine-tuned game. This is definitely going to be last week's game against Tulane was turning the machine on. This is making sure the machine is well oiled. This is making sure you're working the kinks out from all the routes. You're making sure like the machine is working very, very well for the rest of the season at this point. Right now, due to how it went last week, I think this game is the game to fix any errors they see, as well as giving a lot of players rest at this point. That kind of goes into my next point of I really, really hope that Hudson and Knowles will get reps at running back. I think due to the mentality of last week's game, they didn't get those reps. So I really, really hope that they do. Then again, I expect a lot of freshmen to get a lot of reps today with it. I think this game is going to be over at halftime at that point. Now, going back to the offense, though, I also think, too, by when I mentioned about working out the kinks and oiling the machine at that point, I think, too, this is where you're going to start, like, finalizing what the rest of the season is going to look like with your starters, as well as looking like who's going to be running the routes with it. And what I mean by that is like Drake Stoops was out last week. Andrew Rain was out last week. Theo Weiss is out with injury at the moment. But most of those guys, minus Theo, are back this week. So really this is going to serve is to get them involved, as well as to get a look at probably for the rest of the season what the starting lineups are going to look like and who your playmakers are with it. That also extends out to the O-line and the defensive line. Last week without Rain, we really saw a lot of the troubles with the O-line because we just could not get the running game going at that point. I think that's going to change this week. I think we're going to see more of Kennedy Brooks. I think we're going to see more of Eric Gray. And I really, really do hope, at least in the fourth quarter, we're seeing the backup guys just to give them some experience as well with it. That also extends to the defense as well, because I really do think our problems on defense last week was it's something I didn't cover in my post-game video, is I think we were shuffling guys around so much out there. They never got into a rhythm, as well as just some of the sideline stuff going on with it. And I'll get into that in a sec. We just were not mentally there with the defense. I think that's going to change this week with it. Kind of, sort of. Again, I don't expect too much from this game at this point from it. I think this is going to be more reps, but combining both the O-line and the D-line kind of reasons. The O-line, this is going to serve as another game for Beatenbow to really finalize who he wants at as the starters for the line. Again, if a lot of people don't recall, Beatenbow likes to rotate around for the O-line before finally finalizing on that roster, probably by the third or fourth game. Last week wasn't an anomaly of it. It was an anomaly because Rain was not playing, so that kind of threw a lot of stuff off at that point with it. I expect Beatenbow to continue that this week, though, but again, this is just a mismatch with it, so I think he's going to get a better look of who's going to be in those particular positions. I think defense is going to do the exact same thing as well with it. I don't expect too much rotation at this point with it, or maybe there's going to be more. Who knows? Who knows with it? I do expect, like I said, Grinch and Beatenbow to really, really look at their lines and really start finalizing that. Because while I say next week against Nebraska is going to be a very easy game, which that's next week's preview at that point, it's still a Power 5 team. I do think they're going to start really settling everybody in at that point with it. But again, though, like I said, Beatenbow was shuffling around the O-line, see who plays what position the best, and defense was really getting shuffled around as well at that point. Going back to the offense as well, I do think this game is also going to serve as assisting Radler. You know, in my post game, I didn't really have issues with Radler. I'll be upfront with it. I thought, yes, Radler had a very, very poor game last week, but the guy still threw over 300 yards, had a touchdown, and also we scored 40 points. Like, yes, Tulane is not nearly as good as some other teams at that point, but when you put that into context, having a poor game is probably having a quarterback's like of one of their better games at that point with it. But again, I think this will serve as rather not throwing off his back foot, not throwing the floater balls, and then also just seeing if Radler will also do like have the when I'm talking about the floater ball, it makes me think of making sure he wasn't dinged up and stuff, because I think some of that was attributed to when the pile landed on him last week. I don't think he's going to have this issue this week. Finally, that being said, keeping in mind Radler, keeping in mind the O-line, keeping in mind the defense, keeping in mind the freshmen that are probably going to be shuffled around a whole lot, we're not going to learn a lot from this game. I expect a lot of freshmen and lower classmen and second, third strings to get played. I expect, honestly, Caleb Williams to come in by fourth quarter and close out the game at this point and get him reps. He had to play last week with it, but I think we're going to get that experience for him at this point during this game. So that all said, I've probably gone on really, really too long, and I probably micromanaged this particular game way too much for this particular game against Western Carolina. So let's wrap it up. As the title says, it's going to be one of those name your score type of games. I think OU is going to easily cover the spread and win this easily with a prediction of 56-14. Again, it is a name your score type of game at this point. I don't know if I'm going to have a recap video for this since I'm not going to be watching the game since it is pay-per-view. Now, that being said, I could probably turn on the highlights and look at the drives and stuff, but I won't have the full context to give a very effective post-game like I could last week with it. I'll do my best for it. We'll have to just play it by ear to see if I do have a post-game for y'all at that point. I was offered tickets to go to the game, but as y'all know, with my issues with COVID stuff at the moment, I did possibly decline. Honestly, going now kind of into the further part of the Big 12 with it, I'm more curious about Iowa State and Iowa's result than I am this game. If I'm being honest with it, I think that's going to be more impactful for us to know what Iowa State looks like this year versus what this game is going to do with Western Carolina. So again, I do want to thank y'all for tuning into this video. Reminder that I do live streams with Gavin and Oni Kuno on Sundays at 8 o'clock to about 9:30, 9:45. We recap the games or we talk about topics if it's not game related that week. And we also preview the following week. So be sure to check out my live stream from last Sunday. It's going to be in the comments below, and tune in this Sunday. More people who tune in, it makes it fun. We're able to bring up questions that y'all have instead of all of us kind of bouncing around topics and everything, even though it's fun having Gavin and Oni Kuno on. Again, comment, rate, and subscribe. My goal is to reach 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year. I know as of September 11th, that is a very, very, very bold goal, but I'm an ambitious person and I want to try. I want to try to reach that by the end. We did just reach our very, very first milestone with over 100 views on the OU Tulane recap video. So, which also happens to be 100 views on the channel as a whole for a particular video, not counting the very, very first one about them changing the pride of Oklahoma many, many years ago with it. So I want to thank all y'all for viewing it. It warms my heart knowing people just want to tune in and listen to me ramble for 15 to 20 minutes or and tune into the live stream at that point. I really do appreciate it. So that all said, we have this game this week. Again, we got Nebraska next week that we're going to probably have more extensive looks at that point. The only other final thing I have to say is, remember, guys, get vaccinated. In Oklahoma, it looks like we're starting to plateau a bit and maybe even go down. I think I saw the health department tweet out that we're down 5% of cases last week to this week. Even though ICUs and hospitalizations are still high, that's still a positive thing to hear. We're slowly dipping. So again, get vaccinated, guys. I absolutely encourage it. And finally, for y'all attending the game, if y'all hearing this before the game starts, hey, remember to drink your liquids and keep yourself hydrated. It's going to be another hot one out there. And even though I think the humidity is supposed to be down, I mean, it's not going to be 94 degrees by kickoff at this point. It may not be at sunset or anything, but hey, keep yourself hydrated. You don't want to get heat stroke or anything from it. So that all being said, I'm going to sit back. I'm going to turn on the Iowa State game. I'm going to relax this weekend. I'm going to order a pizza. I'm going to clean a little bit of my house. And I just beat Magla Molo on Monster Hunter, so I'm going to be playing a little bit of Monster Hunter. So again, guys, I think this game is going to be great. Boomer Sooner, there's only one Oklahoma, and I will see y'all either in my post-game video or my next video later tonight that I'm hoping to post. It's going to be a video about the Big 12 officially inviting BYU, Cincinnati, Houston, and UCF. So again, Boomer Sooner, there's only one Oklahoma.